Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Fraser Jackson. Here are the stories making headlines across the continent this evening. Unrest continues in Kenya as protesters in Nairobi clash with police for a third consecutive day. Those on the streets are voicing their anger at the high cost of living, inflation and tax hikes. Firefighters in Tunisia are battling a large blaze along the country's border with Algeria. The flames are being fanned by incredibly high temperatures across North Africa and southern Europe. And as Guinea-Bissau's parliament prepares to reopen at the end of the month, we'll have a report from our team on the ground, where people worry that a majority held by opposition parties could spark further political instability. But first, protests continued in Kenya on Friday as people rail against the cost of living and high inflation. Opposition political groups had called for national protests, but most of the country had given up the ghost by Friday. The last bastion of violence was a slum in the capital Nairobi, where police clashed with police and burnt tyres. Kenyan police have been accused of using excessive force since unrest broke out in March, with at least 20 people believed to have been killed by the violence. Let's take a listen to some of those out on the streets today.
I used to run a hotel. Now I had to close it because of running costs. My child is also not going to school and we're being tear-gassed with a helicopter above us. We are hurting and it's not right. As a leader, you are hurting us a lot, as poor people. If you want the fighting to stop in Kenya, reduce the cost of maize flour, cooking and fuel.
The government should stop harassing us. We're citizens, and it's our right. We voted wholeheartedly in peace. Now that vote is hurting us.
Much of the area surrounding the Mediterranean is experiencing incredibly high temperatures at the moment, with the heat fanning the flames of forest fires. In Tunisia, firefighters are battling a major blaze that has burned over 1,000 acres of pine forest along the border with Algeria. Charlie James has the story.
The sun rises over the Meilula forest, smoke still billowing through the hills. Near the Algerian city of Tabarka, firefighters have not had a moment of rest, working through the night to contain the blaze. The fires have destroyed 1,100 acres of forest, trapped citizens in their homes, and caused a border crossing with Algeria to close temporarily. In addition to firefighters, the state has also mobilized forest protection officers and the National Guard. Extreme heat and the hot winds have fed the blaze.
There were very high temperatures in the Djenduba region lately. This was the cause behind the wide spread of the fires, especially through the pine trees. We've acted using several tactics, and we received support from many towns. Thanks to Allah, there were no human casualties.
The Mediterranean region has been dubbed a climate change hotspot by scientists, and Mediterranean nations from Greece to Spain to Egypt are in the throes of a major heat wave. Temperatures in inland Tunisia have exceeded 45 degrees Celsius. The heat will continue through July, raising fears that even more fires are ahead.
Guinea-Bissau's parliament is scheduled to reopen before the end of this month, following a historic legislative election in June. For the first time in the country's history, the parliamentary majority will be held by a coalition of opposition parties. While this may be a positive sign for democracy, it's a risky situation in a country known for its coup d'etat. Our correspondents report.
Guinea-Bissau will soon have a new prime minister. He or she will likely be a high-ranking figure from the PAIGC, an opposition party among the coalition that recently won a majority in the parliamentary elections. The PAIGC says it is ready to work with the man they have spent years opposing, President Embalo.
We will respect the president as the head of state. I think he also will respect the coalition. The president is here, we must respect him. But he should not get involved in the business of the new government.
As for Madame G15, the party of President Embalo, they say they still have faith in their leader despite a historic election defeat.
The president is not here to defend our party or our party's project. He's here to defend the national interest. For that reason, it truly cannot be said that there will be big divisions between him and the new majority party.
Guinea-Bissau will soon have a parliament controlled by the opposition for the first time in its history, a situation that could be risky in a country famed for its political instability.
There is no agreement between President Embalo and the new majority that could negatively impact the functioning of parliament. If that happens, parliament will fall into crisis and the president will have justification to dissolve it and organize an early election. They both have an interest in working together.
The next Prime Minister will have their work cut out. Guinea-Bissau is one of the world's poorest countries. The electorate is yearning not just for economic development, but also for improved public services and the upholding of the rule of law.
Since its creation less than a decade ago, the synthetic drug kush has been ravaging sections of Sierra Leone's youth. Some are spending around $10 a day on the marijuana-like substance. That's a massive amount, where the average income is $500 a year. But as Camille Nedelec reports, the youths using this synthetic high may be paying a far higher price.
A moment of relief that comes with a heavy cost. In Freetown's poorest neighbourhoods, kush addiction is rife. Users will spend small fortunes on their illicit habit and go to any lengths to make enough money to buy it.
Man follow me for money before I buy the kush. Then I get me a skill back.
I let men follow me so I can get money to buy kush. I braid hair too, but I don't do much hair braiding. Sometimes I go to the street to prostitute myself for money so that I can get what I want.
Produced and sold by criminal gangs, the drug is a synthetic psychoactive substance that mimics cannabis, but it can be manufactured to be far more potent. There's just one psychiatric hospital in the entire country, and it's swamped by addicts whose drug use has pushed them to the point of psychosis. They must be weaned off the drug over the course of several weeks.
I would like to tell colleagues out there that these substances that we do take, that they do take, because I'm no longer part of them now, because I'm now a changed person. These substances that they do take, that we call kush, is not something good for their health.
Staff say that the patients here are just the tip of the iceberg. Due to a lack of resources, a far greater number of non-violent drug users are left to their own devices on the streets.
Congo's President Nguesso is in Rwanda today as the two countries look to increase their cooperation. But controversy has already arisen from the last time the pair met, after one of the agreements made saw Congolese land sold to a Rwandan state entity. Clément Diroma has more for us from Kigali.
The two heads of state share a significant and enduring relationship, having both held power for over 20 years. Sassou Nguesso's visit to see Paul Kagame aims to build upon the cooperation initiated in 2010 and expanded last year, focusing on various sectors such as agriculture, commerce, education and mining. During the Rwandan president's visit to Brazzaville in May 2022, 8 agreements were signed, but one of them received a mixed reception from the Congolese side. The agreement involved a 25-year lease of nearly 12,000 hectares of agricultural land to Crystal Ventures, the financial arm of Rwandan Power, which owns companies across the continent. Some Congolese NGO raised concerns at the time, calling it an anti-constitutional agreement and denouncing what they perceived as an illegal concession of national territory, arguing that such decisions should be put to a referendum. It's worth noting that the Congo's territory is 13 times larger than Kigali's, yet only 5% of it is used for agriculture, in contrast to Rwanda's 70% agricultural land usage, which has started to reach its limits.
And finally, the second Russia-Africa summit is taking place next week in St. Petersburg. And ahead of that meeting, France 24 is taking a closer look at Russian influence on the continent. In a special edition of Reporters, we investigated Pan-African influencers who are suspected of promoting Kremlin ideology. Take a look.
Flanked by security guards, Kemi Seba makes his entrance. An enthusiastic crowd welcomes the man who presents himself as the new voice of African unity and independence.
The 21st century will be the century of Pan-Africanism on the continent, in the diaspora. We will be the ones setting the agenda everywhere, even in this country.
In Francophone Africa, anti-French discourse is flourishing. Paris is losing ground, and Moscow is advancing its pawns. In Mali, Burkina Faso, and Central African Republic, pro-Russian governments have come to power over the course of wars and military coups. The propaganda machine is running at full speed. Behind it all, the Wagner Group, presented as Africa's savior. Kemi Seba, Franklin Nyamsi, Natalie Yomb. In the name of Pan-Africanism, these influencers are pushing a narrative.
You remember well the positive role the Russians played in the emancipation of countries that were under colonial domination.
Who are these Pan-African influencers suspected of playing into the hands of the Kremlin?
Well, if you want to watch that report in full, you can do so at 10:15 Paris time tomorrow, Saturday, or head online to our reporters page online, France24.com. That's it for now. Stay tuned to France 24. More news coming up next.